Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to one and all. I hope you're all doing really well. Let me tell you, I'm also doing absolutely amazing. So yes, we are back with yet another session. I know it's a Sunday evening, it's a office class. I know it's kind of difficult, but it is ultimately for you people. Okay. It is also difficult. It is also what we call something. Yeah, Sunday sir, ab class fir laga diya. I know it is challenging, but nevertheless, it is at any which is being recorded. Correct? That case. Take it. Now let us start. I will kind of what you call try and ensure that it is what you call easy for you to understand. And it's a small topic today. What we have to do? It's a small topic, but yet very important from the exam perspective and from the what you call, because this particular chapter comes in each and every what you call paper of what you call ACCA in some manner or the other. It actually comes in each and every paper. Okay, so if you're kind of what you call, if you're kind of doing this paper, this kind of this preparation strongly, you're ensuring that you have kind of what you call done each and every chapter, each and every subject में something which is related to your ethics. Yes. So now let us start. So now, which is chapter 4 is divided into two. One is ethics, and second one is what we call understanding the client and its environment. Okay. So now, majorly we'll talk about the ethics part first. Okay. So now, when you talk about ethics, ethics matlab kya? In general, what do you mean by ethics? Ethics matlab kya? Ethics matlab what? Ethics are nothing but principles. Principles are set of guidelines. Okay. Principles are set of guidelines. Why? Like matlab kya, sir? Let us assume you have been told, ठीक है, let us assume, exam question बताता हूँ, ठीक है, exam question that you are an accountant. Let us assume that you are an accountant and you have been asked by your CFO to what, to report what you call uh, some 10 lakh rupees का extra profit. You're like, how can I report? You're like, डाल ना, मैं तेरे को बोल रहा हूँ ना डाल. So in that case, if that is coming within your ethics, कि मतलब that is not actually correct. You cannot what you call screw up with your financial statement. It should actually see. Financial statement should show us true and fair view of your what you call financial statements, correct? So in that case, if let's say you're inflating the profit, let's say by revenue, increasing the revenue by let's say 10 lakh or something like that, correct? So then you're told to be unethical, correct? So nothing but what you call it is this ethics is nothing but, I think it's nothing but set of principles or guidelines which an organization or individual follows in order to achieve their or what you call achieve their specific objectives both at the company level or at the individual level. Yes. अभी अपन we often hear ना यार ये बंदा ethical नहीं है, वो बंदा ढंग से काम नहीं करता. What does that mean? Basically, he's not working according to what is required to be worked on. ठीक है, he's not kind of paying the attention, or let's say he's kind of what you call not performing the things that are that he's supposed to perform, and he's doing all sort of unrealistic activities, which is actually not good in the longer run, not for him and not for the company. So basically, that is what. Okay, ethics. So now, when you study about ethics, when you're studying about ethics, it has been given by what you call, you have to study two important what you call people, one or two important organizations. One is International Federation of Accountants, which is nothing but IFAC, and what is IESBA, International Ethical Standards Board of Accountants for accountants. Correct. So now IESBA, International Ethical Standards Board for Accountants. Correct. So now IESBA's role. What do you mean by IESBA's role? IFAC through IESBA has established a global code of conduct for ethics for accountants. Correct. So this particular board, okay, this particular board has established what are all the ethics? What are all the ethics that you have to follow as an accountant? Now, see, going forward, 1 year, 2 year down the line, whenever you complete your ACCA, whenever you get that degree, you'll be what you'll be called as a what you call accountant. Correct? You'll be a what you call associate of ACCA affiliate. Correct? Nothing but accountant. Correct? So in that case, you are imbibed, or let's say you have to follow certain kind of ethics. Correct? You have to follow certain kind of ethics while performing your professional duties, irrespective of whether you're in service, or let's say you are in what you call you've set up your own practice, or let's say you're under employment. Either ways, doesn't matter. You have to follow this what you call specific code of ethics that is applicable to each and every person who is what you call an ACC affiliate. Yes, samajh mein aata. So for that you need to understand, right, what are all the expectations that the what you call board has from you. IESBA. So what is this International Ethical Standard Board for Accountants has developed and issued high quality ethical standards for professionals accountant worldwide. Correct. So it has what developed. It has what you call it. It develops. Okay. What does it do? This major function of this board, as the name suggests, what does it do? It kind of prepares ethical standards. Okay. It prepares ethical standards for the board of the account. See? Okay. Next. what have they given? Okay, it applies to all the professional accountants, public practices, business education, and public sector. Like I told you, once you become an affiliate, of this, what you call affiliate of this particular organization, you have to what you call follow the rules of code of ethics, which has been what you call set up by the IESP. There's no hiding or there's no what you call exception to it. Hey, if you are a what you call accountant or you are an affiliate, you have to follow, irrespective of whether you, wherever you go or whichever kind of practice, either you're in what we call public sector, business education, wherever you go, okay, you have to what you call follow this what you call IESP and this standards, and there's no what you call hiding. Okay, serves as the basics for ethical codes developed and enforced by the IFAC members. Correct. So in that case, it helps. Okay, how does it form rules? Basically, International Federation of Accountant People, they sit, they kind of frame. Okay, and they kind of frame the what you call code of ethics policy. See, nothing but see, if you see, this is also accounting ethics standard of board for the accountants. They take consideration from what you call International Federation of Accountants. It is what you call, again, a group of people. Take again a group of people who have sit together, representing various nations. They've sit together. Take it. They've sit together and they made what are the what you call code of ethics that are to be followed. Correct. Based on that, you kind of what you call formulate. Based on that, you kind of formulate what you call the ethics. Okay, and based on this ethics, you kind of serve. Yes, IFAC members and aims. What is this? IFAC IFAC members and firms aims using international auditing assurance cannot apply less stringent standards. Correct. So in that case, let us assume that you are what you call a member. So now, generally ACCA, ICI, everyone, take it as a member of what you call this IFAC countries. ठीक है, in that case, once it is applicable, you cannot have any less stringent. इतना तो bare minimum है. इससे ज्यादा तुम लगाओ कोई चिंता नहीं है. बस इतना तो what you call you have to have. Correct. In that case, you, as let's say, if I am ICI, what am I? ICI. What is ICI? Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the one which gives you CA Chartered Accountancy ka degree. Correct. So ACCA gives you ACCA ka degree. Correct. Similarly, ICI gives you CA ka degree. Correct. So now, when you're talking about what you call CA degree, this being given by what you call ICI, and then they have the option. They are what you call, they represent on India and what you call IFAC, and they contribute contribute towards what you call this ethics. Correct. So ethics, whatever they've kind of contributed, that will be there. Correct. But in addition to that, let us assume to Indian community, if they want to have some more standards, some more what you call ethical stringent standards, they can have. तो इतना तो bare minimum है. Let's say I'm a chartered accountant. Yes, let's say नहीं, I'm a chartered accountant. Correct. उसके ऊपर से you have to have these particular standards. समझ में आता? So that is what is the rule. ठीक है. Now, IESB का due process, the rigorous process ensures stakeholders' views are considered in developing standards and interpretations. What does it mean? So basically, for the fact that what you call IESPA, when it has to frame the policies, how will it frame the policy for the code of ethics? You'll have to see, who are all the stakeholders? What are the things that you are doing? What are all the things that you are doing? What are you doing? You're basically doing what? You're addressing to the stakeholders' needs. Yes. So stakeholders ka needs address kare. So in that case, you have to take into consideration, well, how will the stakeholders be affected by your services? Correct. So in that case, what did we tell? Ensures that stakeholders' views are considered. Correct. So in that case, you'll take in the opinion of the stakeholders. What do I mean by that? You'll take in the opinion of the stakeholders for what called developing the standards. Correct. For developing the standards and interpretations. Correct. They will kind of formulate. They'll kind of tell you how do you kind of have to make your how do you kind of go ahead? How do you kind of go ahead in framing of policies? And that is how you kind of do. Yes, just a second. Next, research and consultation. A task force conducts research and consultation to develop a draft. So now, once they've understood, मैंने क्या बोला? Ye stakeholders, see, we are ultimately doing service to the stakeholders, whichever field that you take up. Let's say considering audit only. Okay. Now, audit mein, what are you doing here? You're doing the audit of financial statements. For whom? The various stakeholders. Correct. The users of the financial statements are nothing but the stakeholders. Correct. So in that case, when we talk, you're doing it for the stakeholders. What will happen now? They'll have to take in some research and consultation. What do I mean by that? Research and consultation. A task. Take care. They'll have to know, no? Stakeholders kya chahte? What are all the things that are missing from the what you call this company's point of view? Correction. What are all the things that are missing from this ACCA institute? Correction. In that case, they'll form a task force. What is this task force? Within this, what you call IFAC, or let's say ISBA, they kind of what you call pick up few members and they'll kind of roam around. Okay, they'll roam around various stakeholders and understand what is their requirements, correct? What is the requirements, and based on that, based on the consultations and research, they kind of develop a draft. This draft is presented and debated at the public ISB meeting, correct? So now, once this draft is prepared, what will happen? It is open for discussion now. What does it happen now? Discussion के लिए open है, ठीक है? Now they'll kind of discuss कि मतलब let us assume X, Y, Z points, ठीक है? What are all the points that they have produced? ठीक है? They kind of discuss कि मतलब is it required? Is it, see, you cannot only consider about what you call the stakeholders' expectations. You also have to consider the ACC affiliates का position also, correct? It is not wise. It's not wise to what you call only consider. Let us assume that stakeholders are expecting that you give exactly that you what you call that you work 24/7 and you work over there only, correct? You but you give the exact, that is not how it is going to work. You have to give balance of both the sides, correct? You have to definitely give a what you call importance to stakeholder, but in addition to that, you have to ensure what you're listening to also the other people, correct? So in that case, you'll have to ensure that there's a transparent debate between period people, and what you call you're bringing out the best policies which can be implemented at the code of ethics. Yes. Now, exposure for public comment. So now, once this draft is ready, once it is what you call debate say what you call, you've added a few points and you've deleted a few points. Now, a final draft is there. That draft is what you call issued to the public for general comments. Now, public can what you call comment on it. कि मतलब public को क्या in general public को कैसे लगता है कि मतलब is there anything that should be changed? A similar kind of thing exists in the parliament. Let us assume any bill is kind of introduced. It is what you call first pass at the both levels of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and then it kind of what you call, or let's say what you call. Before that, a bill is presented and then it is open for discussion at the parliament level, and then it is what you call open to public for comments, and then once it is done, it is kind of what you call cleared between Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. I think this is how it is the process, correct? So now this is how it is. Okay, once you have prepared the final draft, it is what you call issued to the public comment for what you call general comment, and then once the public comments are here, okay, public comments are reviewed. If there's any change that is required, okay, and this is what you call usually 90 days. Again, another important question for what you call MCQs, correct? So in that case, now once it is what called public comments is there, take a consideration of this comment. Public comments are reviewed at a public ISBA meeting, and the draft is revised. Significant changes may lead to re-exposure, correct? So in this case, if let's say there's a significant change, okay, there's a significant change. This has been suggested, which has been suggested by the company, correct? So in that case, that has to be what you call that has to be what you call re-exposure के लिए डालना पड़ेगा, and again the same process. Again, research and consultation happens, transparent debate and everything. Correct. So once that is done, approval requires vote at least what you call 12 members in person or via telecommunication. Correct. So in that case, approval is required. Okay, you need to what you call get it approved. Okay, you need to get it approved by at least 12 members in person. Correct. 12 members in person मतलब क्या? Who are all the 12 members? Again, the ISBA के 12 members at least. Okay, all the member countries के में से at least 12 members should be what you call present in person, and what you call they should be signing. We are okay with this what called new draft, with this what called updation of the new draft within the code of ethics. समझ में आता? Again, see, it is, I know it is slightly procedural, interesting नहीं है, but ठीक है, आज एक दो दिन और बेर करने का, next week, probably the next week, will kind of get interesting, correct? So now ISBA का due process. So now once they kind of what you call they understand the stakeholders का requirement, then what you call it is task force is formed to what you call do the research and prepare what you call the appropriate code of ethics. Then it is open for debate. Then once the debate is done, once you kind of revise the draft, and this draft is what you call issued to the public for comment. Once the comments come back, usually it is for the period of 90 days. Once this 90 days is done, you kind of give them back, take it for re-exposure, and then then that is done, it is open to what you call is given to approval for the various member countries. At least 12 members should kind of approve it, and once that is done, you are what you call this new code of ethics or new guidelines will come into picture. Yes. Now, what is a public interest oversight board? Nothing but PIOB. Okay. Just the abbreviation. PIOB is nothing but oversees the public interest activities of the IFAC. Correct. So now IFAC is what? International Federation of Accountants. Correct. So in that case, PIOB oversees the public interest activities. So whatever the activities that IFAC kind of takes it is being what you call monitored, or it is kind of overseen by what you call PIOB. What is PIOB? Public Interest Oversight Board. Correct. So what is the function of this IFAC? It is kind of overseeing what? It is kind of overseeing the what you call public activities of IFAC. Yes. Okay. Its objective is to enhance the confidence among the investors and others that IFAC's activities, including the ISBA standard setting, are responsive to the public interest. So now, इसके ऊपर all of this ISBA के ऊपर ISBA का boss कौन है? PIOB. What will it do? Will kind of check कि मतलब यहाँ पे जो भी policies बना रहे, although it is what you call open for what you call public discussion and public will review the draft and everything is fine, but is it actually implemented? Is it actually implemented in the said manner? Is it actually happening in the said manner? And is it actually what you call preventing? Is it actually what you call responding to the public interest or not? That is a bit of a challenge, right? So that is being what you call taken care by the Public Interest Oversight Board. What does it do? It kind of what you call, it kind of checks. It kind of helps in enhancing the confidence among the investors. How is it doing that? Because it is acting as a review body. Yes, it is nothing but acting as a review body of what are all the things that have happened at the board level. Yes, so once that is done, its objective is to enhance confidence among the investors and others that the IFAX activities, including the IASBA standards, are responsive to the public interest. समझ में आता? Now, ठीक है, PI or PC, you have to understand one thing. What is this? What you call? Why are we kind of preparing? Why are we kind of preparing this? What you call code of ethics document, so as to ensure that stakeholders, what you call stakeholders' interest is produced. कि मतलब stakeholders को harm तो नहीं कर रहा. See, ultimately, you have to understand that ACCA body is a what you call, you if you are an affiliate, you're serving the board. Okay, you're not doing for profit. Obviously, profit is a byproduct, but majorly you're kind of serving the board. Correct. So in this case, if you're serving the board, you have to ensure, right? You're serving what you call the public. Public का interest भी तो रहना चाहिए ना. It should be in the it should be advantageous to the public. Correct. It should not be disadvantageous to the public. Correct. So in that case, you have made the policies. Correct. So implementation is also a key factor. Correct. So how is what you call IFAC and what you call ISB implementing it? That is something which is verified by what you call PIOB. Correct. So what does it do? It acts as a overseeing faculty, overseeing what you call overseeing the public interest of activity, overseeing the public interest activities of IFAC. Correct. Its objective is to ensure what you call confidence among the investors. Okay. How do you select the PIOB members? Are nominated by the international institutions and regulatory bodies. Correct. So in that case, what you call, it is nominated by the international institutions and regulatory bodies. Correct. So now, conceptual framework. What do you mean by conceptual framework? Both IESB and ACCA. No, sorry. Both IESB and what you call ACCA follow a conceptual framework that includes fundamental principles of ethical behavior, potential threats, and what you call possible safeguards. So now, when you're talking about this conceptual framework, take it. Now, what conceptual framework मतलब क्या होता? मतलब what is the premise that this code of ethics is built on? ठीक है? What is the premise? What are all the things that are considered in this code of ethics? आपने बोल तो दिया code of ethics, लेकिन सर उसमें रहेगा क्या? What do you think is included in that? These three things are included. Fundamental principles of ethical behavior. What are all the fundamental principles? How do you have to act upon in a given situation that has been given? That has been given in what you call fundamental principles. Correct. So now, what are the threats? What are the threats that you might kind of encounter while discharging a professional duty? So let us assume that what you call you are an accountant and you're what you call doing the audit of, let's say, what you call Reliance. Okay. In that case, what are the threats? What are the possible threats that you might encounter? What are all the available safeguards to reduce these threats? Correct. So all of this is being prescribed. Correct. So what are all the three things? Very, very important from the what you call short answer question. What are all the things? Fundamental principles, threats, while discharging the professional duties, and what potential threats to comply with these principles, and what are all the adequate safeguards that are available to reduce or eliminate the threats. समझ में आता है? This framework relies on what you call rule-based approach. Correct. So now there are two kinds of things. One is the principle-based approach and a rules-based approach. So now, what do you mean by principle-based approach, sir? जल्दी से फटाफट बता देता हूँ. Not very important from the exam perspective. What is the principle-based approach and the rules-based approach? Oh, here we have. ठीक है. Now, when we talking about the principle-based approach, it is on the spirit of guidance. कि मतलब we have given you general guidance. कि मतलब यार, we want you to what you call apply your own dreams. We'll give you a general guidance that you have to follow, and you'll have to what you call frame your own policies surrounding it. Correct. So now that is what is spirit of guidance. Correct. When we talk about when we talk about what you call specific rules, like rule-based approach, they are giving you specific rules. ठीक है. उसके हिसाब से ही तुमको act करना है. You cannot act anything out of that. Principle-based approach में what is it? It is kind of what you call you have to. There's a what you call spirit of guidance. कि मतलब एक guidance दिया हुआ है. ठीक है. Guidance note दिया हुआ है. ठीक है. मतलब तुम ये लो. But if it is what you call something is more advantageous to you, or you think it is kind of justifiable that why are you deviating from this particular thing, you can deviate, possibly deviate, and that should not be a problem. Correct. So spirit of guidance is defined, and here in this case you have specific rules. Role of accountant, it is professional judgment and following defined rules. Correct. So in this case, like the role of, in this case, like this case, you have the role of accountant is clearly defined, whereby you have to apply your professional judgment, because it is a guidance. Yes, it is not something which is specific, but in this case, you have to just दिमाग नहीं लगाने का, ज़्यादा दिमाग नहीं लगाने का, what you call, you have to specifically follow the defined rules. Yes. Now flexibility. Now this has what you call more flexibility, obviously, because you have a general guidance. Correct. You have a general guidance based on which what you have to frame your own. So let us assume अभी principle based approach का क्या बोल सकते हैं? एग्जाम्पल क्या ले सकते हैं प्रिंसिपल बेस्ड अप्रोच का? कि मतलब नाउ यू हैव टू व्हाट यू कॉल कैसे बोलेंगे इसको, प्रिंसिपल बेस्ड गाइडेंस का, चल ठीक है, I'll give you the example in quite some time, ठीक है, but flexibility में it is kind of like in rule based approach you kind of have less rules, ठीक है. So now the perfect example, ठीक है, rule based approach का what you call, you have let's say what you call this GST का compliances or let's say VAT का compliances. Is there any doubt that you can deviate from this? No, you cannot, correct. So that is what is it as a rule, correct. Section में लिखा हुआ है कि by this time you have to file your return. That is how it is, correct. Now that is how it is. But on general, on the contrary, if let's say there's a what you call guidance note, or let's say there's a guidance note that has been issued to better understand how do you kind of imply in a particular situation whether is it taxable or not, correct. So what is that? It is a general principle based approach, correct. It is a principle based approach. It is giving you a general guidance based on how you kind of apply, correct. So you can apply it, but if in case that does not fit in your case, or let's say you have a better what you call logical sense which helps you what you call deviate from this, you can possibly deviate, and that should not be a problem. Yes, flexibility. Now cross border application, applicable across national boundaries, but this is what called difficult to apply across different legal systems. So obviously, let's say I have what you call frame the policy of let's say what you call this FEMA compliances. What they mean by FEMA compliances, let us assume that I'm an export oriented company from India. So in that case, what I have to follow certain rules. What do I mean by that? I have to follow certain rules and I'm kind of exporting goods. Let us assume that I am exporting goods from here to let's say Canada. Okay, in this case, I have to follow certain rules. I cannot just what called just export like that, correct? So there are what called certain rules. So now, do you think Canada wala people will have the same rules for import? No, they'll not have, correct? So in that case, that is what it is difficult for me to what you call follow both the rules, correct? So in that case, there might be what you call a challenge for me to what you call follow both the rules. But now might so happen that Canada and India might have the similar kind of what you call this rules for what you call export, but it might also be different. Correct. So in that case, that is what it is. But in this case, since it is general guidance, it's for the general public. Correct. So in that case, it might what you call the applicable across national boundaries. Correct. So how do you kind of combat terrorism, or let's say how do you kind of what you call ensure what you call the best resources are available. Correct. So all of this is what you call a general thing. Detail level general principles, and this is specific and detailed because you do not have to apply the just have to see, correct. You have to filter it down to your level and then you have to see if it is applicable. Then if it is applicable, dimag nahi lagane ka seedha what you call you have to follow this. Yes, ease of application requires interpretation. See, this is slightly challenging because it is like yeah, guidance hai, okay. Firstly, it is guidance. So in that case, it is general. Okay, it is not specific to you. Correct. So in that case, you might have to see, you might have to understand, is it actually applicable to me? Yes, if it is. If it is yes, then how can it affect? Yes, if it is no, okay, then so you have to apply your own way. Or let's say if it is yes, then you have to understand, do you have to actually apply it or not, correct? So because guidance is not something which is mandatory for you to follow, correct? So now, but in the ease of a rule-based approach, it is seemingly easier to follow because you just do not have any option. You have to follow this, correct? So seemingly easier to follow. Adaptability, easily applicable to new situations because it is giving you general guidance. This needs weekly interface because the business is very dynamic in nature, correct? So in that case, it might undergo a lot of changes over a period of time, correct? So that is it. There's a frequent updation in this. You might need to what you call update a lot of rules and regulations. Also, rules and regulations might undergo a change, which might what you call which might possibly lead to a what you call difficult situation for you. Okay. Now, so in that case, in this case, you kind of have, let's say, for example, you have what you call on an annual basis. Let us assume that you have what you call all the G7 countries, or let's say all the countries meet and they kind of decide how to combat terrorism. They have kind of given general guidelines, correct? General guidelines. What are all the things that you have to do, correct? But now let us assume that business has undergone a change, correct? So in that case, businesses have undergone a change. So now businesses have gone global, correct? So now you have to have certain more stringent rules with respect to exports. Yes, so that is what you call it has to undergo a lot of updates, correct? Specifically post-COVID, correct? Post-COVID, everything has undergone a change, correct? So this is what rule-based approach with you have to keep yourself updated to the different changing market conditions. But this principle-based approach will not require because it is a general guidance again. Yes. Next, potential for circumvention because there's it is a general guidelines and it does not require you to it is not that stringent. It is not that stringent and you do not have to you do not have to circumvent. Circumvent bole to you kind of dodge it. Okay, you kind of dodge it. Okay, you kind of dodge this guidance note, and because it is not specifically any which ways, the purpose is not here to bind you with this guidance. It's just to make your process easier. Correct. It is just to ensure that you're not deviating from your established principles. Correct. So you're not deviating from the established principles. But let's say for a rule, so in that case, since you have see, once a company is having a general principle, they will never compromise on quality. Correct? Whatever they do, they'll kind of ensure that there's quality. That is the principle. Yes. So now, when they have told that my principle, I will follow by my principle, I'll never compromise on the quality. Based on that, I'll kind of frame my rules. I'll ensure that quality check is being done. Even if in case there's a 1% doubt on if on the quality of the product, I'll not send it to the customer. Correct? That is a rule. Okay? So in that case. So now, once the manager has this rule, so now don't you think he'll kind of, yaar, ek hi to sample hai, yaar, chhod na, abhi kya, matlab iska itna to I can take. Correct? So in that case, he might encourage narrow interpretation of rules so that he can take an advantage of this situation and kind of bring it onto his advantages. Okay? Comprehensiveness can be applied to many unique situations. I have to address to any possible situation. Comprehensiveness may, it is can be applied to many situations. Yes, okay, it can be applied to any situation, but this is specific to one particular scenario. Let us assume export-oriented rules, or let's say fraud identification rules. Correct? So all of this is the difference. Now, why did we study all of this? Now, this can come as a proper 5-mark or a 7-mark answer, whereby you'll have to give a direct differentiation between a principle-based approach and a rule-based approach. Correct? So highlighted over here, given the key differences, and if you have to score marks, you have to write it in similar manner. और basic है, correct? In this case, like मतलब principle based approach में सिर्फ एक guidance याद रख लेंगे तो हो जाएगा. But in this case, rules based approach में you have there's a specific rules that have been given. Yes, in that case, once you kind of have this both, don't you think it is easier for you to frame the policies? Yes, so that next. Okay. So now, conceptual framework, again, it is the fundamental principles of ethical behavior. Then you have threats and the safeguards associated to it. Okay, threats for the compliance with these principles and possible safeguards. Okay. Consequences of not adhering to this code of ethics, disciplinary hearings. Yes, if in case you're not complying with this code of ethics, then in that case you'll have to have this fines, penalties, or even disqualification. Take a disqualification of license to practice. So, for example, in India, if you do not know, take a this is not good for me to tell, but take a example ke liye. So now, if you know, there's this company called a CCD, Cafe Coffee Day. You must have seen. Yes, Cafe Coffee Day mein there was the auditor had auditor was KPMG was the auditor. Correct. So in that case, what has happened? Now KPMG had not performed the audit diligently. Correct. So there were some gaps in how they were supposed to audit. Correct. So in that case, what happened? Firstly, okay, Indian court, they ordered, okay, what are all the scams that you have hidden? You had to ideally report it under the financial statement. So you had to give a modified opinion. So you did not do that. Correct. तो पहले तो लोग के पास फाइन मारा. Correct. $10 million का फाइन कुछ मारा अच्छा खासा. 50 लाख 1 करोड़ का फाइन मारा. पहले individual partners के बेस पे. Correct. So individual partners one was Arvind Maya or someone, and one was someone else. Correct. So there were 2 partners involved. Okay. One was Arvind Maya and someone else. Okay. Some Somani. Okay. I forgot this name. Okay. There's this like Arvind, I should not be naming them. Okay, so Mr. X and Mr. Y. Okay, and they were also. Okay, firstly they were fined. Okay, they were fined, and the firm was also fined. KPMG offered. KPMG runs in India in the name of BSR Ampersand Associates, BSR and Associates LLP. Correct. So they were also fined, and in addition to that, what? In addition to that, the both the partners of both the partners who were held responsible, they were also debarred. They are also debarred from practicing audit. समझ में आता? Why? Because they had not performed the duties diligently. Correct? They did not perform the duties diligently. समझ में आ रहा? So this is how tough your audit procedures can be. If let's say if any report comes on and then you have been held guilty of any kind of fraud or something, or you have not performed the audit well, in that case you'll be firstly you'll be fined and penalties will be levied. But if in case that that's a heinous crime, then you'll kind of also be debarred from practicing. Yes, anymore. They are not allowed. So now those 2 KPMG partners, although they had left, they've left KPMG much before. Okay, much before that this thing had come out. But now what are they doing? They are not even KPMG. They are settled in they become the CEO, CFO of a big company. Right? So it does not really matter to them. But having said that, just kind of telling you how difficult can your life become. Okay. A similar kind of fraud happened when ILFS fraud came out. Okay, ILFS ka fraud. Or let's say this I don't know if you know this. There's this another company called as Byju's. Correct, Byju's ka Byju's ka Deloitte was the auditor, correct? So Deloitte was also questioned for the revenue recognition policy of Byju's, correct? So that was also a big scam. That was what called disclosed, correct? So all of this led to what called a fines led by what called levied on what called Deloitte, BDO, everyone. Yes, okay. So now next. Now, when we talk about what we call the fundamental principles, now when we talk about the fundamental principles, we have okay, fundamental principles: integrity, objectivity, professional competence in UK, confidentiality, and professional behavior. What did we discuss? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence in UK, and professional behavior. Correct? What are this? You have to remember this: integrity, objectivity, professional competence in UK, and professional behavior. And okay, in so now when we talk about integrity, what do you mean by integrity? You need to be straightforward and honest. What do I mean by that? No, whenever an auditor is there, okay, whenever he's kind of what you call performing his duties, okay, whenever he's performing the duties, he's required to be straightforward and honest. What do I mean by the straightforward and honest? It means that whenever you're kind of performing your duties, you're required to what you call disclose the facts as they are. Okay, if let's say you have disclosed, if you have what you call noticed a fraud, it is you have noticed something which is of the what you call applicable financial reporting framework, and the management is reluctant to clear it. You have to you have to be straightforward and you have to be honest to your profession, because ultimately what this report is going to do, it is going to be what you call used by the sorry used by what you call the used by the stakeholders of the company, correct? So in that case you have to what you call disclose what are all the facts, correct? What are all the facts, because they have trusted the responsibility on you to be able to identify any kind of accounting regulations, correct? So in that case you have to be straightforward and honest, correct? And when you kind of what you call discharging a professional duties, you have to encounter what you call some areas where you have to take a professional judgment. What do I mean by this? For example, whenever you're kind of auditing, there's a concept whereby you'll have to check provision for bad and doubtful debt. Simple example. There's nothing but an estimate that the management makes, correct? What is it? It is an estimate that the management makes, correct? So in this case, when you're talking about objectivity, what you have to understand is you have to be what you call given unbiased professional judgment. You have to deviate from the fact that you're associated with the company. Obviously, you're independent, correct? You're independent, correct? So in that case, you will have to ensure that you are what you call you are disclosing. You are giving an unbiased professional judgment on how should it be recounted, correct? How should it be recounted? Correct. So let us assume that the management has recognized 6% of the provision, but based on the procedures that you have performed, 8% IR. Correct. So in that case, you have to what you call unbiased professional judgment. And by default, also, auditor is required to be independent. Yes. Why is it required to be independent? Because he's required to take a lot of unbiased decisions. Correct. So he cannot have any kind of bias. Yes, we have discussed it in what you call abhi tak kitne baar pad liya. Yes, that is what objectivity. You're required to what you call have an unbiased professional judgment, specifically when you're kind of dealing with estimates, or let's say there's something when you cannot precisely measure something, unbiased professional judgment, or let's say what is the materiality. Yes, while auditing, this is they can related to accounting auditing, correct? So now when you're kind of determining the materiality, you should be you should have an unbiased professional judgment on as to what are all the benchmarks. Yes, we have seen like how do you determine the materiality of the concept? Yes, materiality ka concept we have discussed, correct? So now when you're talking about objectivity, you'll have to ensure that you're taking into consideration that you are kind of unbiased while kind of taking the professional. Next, professional competence and you can see as an auditor, you know for the fact that auditing profession, or let's say this accounting profession, is bound to change. Why? Because as the businesses are changing, as the businesses ka landscapes is changing, the dynamics of the business are growing like anything, correct? आज यहाँ पे business है, कल vertical, it is global, ठीक है? So all of this will lead to slightly accounting challenges, correct? So accounting challenges and taxation challenges and different kind of challenges which you might have not encountered so far, correct? So just merely you being satisfied that you have this ACCA degree, will it ensure that you're performing you're giving wonderful services? No, it might not give you instantly. What is the reason, sir? Because because ACCA as an institute will give you what are all the recent changes, correct? But after that, after you have cleared the exam, when you kind of want to serve the companies also, they'll expect you to be updated with the changes. Yes, because you'll be on a consulting role now, correct? So in that case, you'll have to in order to perform, or in order to help the clients and all of that, you have to constantly keep yourself updated. How will you do that? You'll have to you'll have to constantly attain knowledges and skill and act diligently in support of the business. Yes, which can help businesses. समझ में आ रहा? Professional competence in UK, you have to attain knowledge and skill and act diligently. Confidentiality. What do I mean by confidentiality? Basically, so now whenever you're kind of auditing, whenever you're kind of auditing, and especially when you're kind of auditing what you call listed companies. What listed companies? Let us assume that you've been hired as the auditor of Reliance, correct? So in that case, you'll have to have what you call, you'll be accessing a lot of what you call confidential data. Okay. Best example, okay, let us assume that you're kind of what you call auditing Reliance ka financial statements now. So in that case, you'll be having access to the Reliance ka financial statements much before, okay, much before it is released to the public, correct? You'll be what you call having the access to the financial statements much before what you call it is released to the public, correct? And mota moti, there's no much changes because Reliance as a company is very sorted, correct? So in that case, it is your duty to ensure that what you call clients, this what you call sensitive information is not disclosed before it is what you call out in the public forum. You cannot disclose, or let's say during the audit also you get to know a lot of facts which, by the way, are the business secrets, correct? So as an auditor, you'll be having a what you call very good hold on the business knowledge of the company. Yes, in that case, you might also get to know a lot of about a lot of what you call confidential issues, correct? So in that case, client's information is not to be disclosed to the auditor, correct? So now professional behavior, you have to comply with the laws and regulations. Whatever are the laws and regulations that have been framed for what you call you have to constantly follow them. Okay, let's say, for example, let's say I'm a chartered accountant now. I have to what you call do my duties. I have to what you call I'll have to what you call be associated with the company. Sorry, I'll have to what you call strictly follow the rules and regulations as mentioned in the ICI Act, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India Act 1949. I'll have to follow the rules and regulations that have been framed. Correct. I cannot what you call deviate from those what you call what you call rules and regulations, because those have been framed in order to ensure that I'm discharging my professional duty as well. Correct. So in that case, I will not be what you call deviate. In addition to that, while I'm performing, let's say, my professional services, let us assume that audit. Okay. So in that case, I'll also be what you call required to do the audit as per what you call in India. You'll have to follow the Companies Act, and there are certain guidelines, correct? Guidelines that I need to follow, correct? In that case, I'll have to strictly follow those laws and regulations, correct? So now again repeating, because this is very very important. ये समझ लो कि ऐसा समझ लो कि ये particular thing में से you'll kind of get what you call one question पक्का, ठीक है? So now when we talk about what you call fundamental principles, is integrity, objectivity, professional competence in UK, what you call confidentiality and professional behavior. Integrity, you have to be straightforward and honest. What do I mean by straightforward and honest? You will have to have what you call whenever you're kind of having this whenever you're running an audit, okay, whenever you're doing in the audit, you'll have to be straightforward and honest. Jaisa, whatever is the situation, you'll have to what you call show it in your audit report. That situation should exactly be shown in an honest way. You cannot what you call sugarcoat or what you call deviate from the facts which is actually there. Yes, you'll have to maintain your integrity of the profession as well as what you call the duties that you have discharged. Objectivity, during the audit or during the performance of your what you call professional duties, you'll have what you call you'll have to perform an unbiased professional judgment. What do I mean by that? Unbiased professional judgment. In that case, what do I mean by that? You'll have to ensure that what you call there's a lot of what you call there are a lot of times where you'll have to access there's something called as an estimates or something like that. In that case, when you're kind of evaluating the estimate, you have to ensure that you're giving an unbiased professional judgment, correct? Because estimates, whenever you talk about estimates, there's no actual guarantee. There's no actual guarantee of what you call the exact situation. Yes, but having said that, you need to ensure, okay, whenever you're kind of evaluating that estimates, it is on a what you call unbiased, you're expressing an unbiased professional judgment. Next, professional competence in UK, whenever you kind of what you call expressing an opinion, okay, you need to keep yourself updated, okay, due to the dynamics of the businesses have undergone a change, and the rule, and so does the rules and regulations within which the businesses operate. Correct. So in that case, in order to efficiently perform the services, you have to ensure that what you call there is professional competence in UK. Then confidentiality, okay, client's information. Whenever you kind of perform the duties, you will be having access to a lot of what you call confidential data. Okay, and so this confidential data should not be disclosed. Okay, confidential data should not be disclosed to anyone. And lastly, professional behavior. Okay, you will have to comply with the laws and regulations. Next, fundamental principles to khatam ho. Okay, now fundamental principles are done. Now, what are the potential threats and what are possible safeguards? Potential threats. See, now once potential threats are what? Self-interest threat, self-review threats, advocacy threat, familiarity threats, and what you call it? Intimidation threats. Now, each of the threat has been discussed in each and every what you call detailed manner below. Okay. Okay. Now, self-interest threat. So, what do I mean by that? Self-interest threat. So now, let us assume that I'm the auditor. I'm the auditor of what? Reliance. Okay. So now, let us assume that I am the auditor of Reliance. Reliance is such a big company. I'm like, यार Reliance का मेरे को audit मिल गया ना, करोड़ रुपए आ गया, correct? You see, Reliance का audit fee, it is more than a crore. It's almost like 4-5 crores, correct? It is not even 1 crore. It is what you call 4-5 crores. So now, what am I doing? यार मतलब एक ही client बस है मेरे को 4-5 crores is a lot यार. 1 year के लिए 4-5 crores is what? Like 40-50 lakhs a month. I'll nicely sit and go chill करेगा मैं, correct? But now that is not how it should be there. Why? Because there's a lot of financial dependency. Yeah, I do not want to perform only the audit of what you call Reliance. Why? Because if let's say I'm kind of only dependent on Reliance, then I'm like, yeah, let us assume if I do not perform it as per what you call expectation of Mukesh Ambani, he might remove me. Correct? So in that case, there'll be a compromise on the objectivity part of it. I'll not be able to take an unbiased decisions. Yes, we have studied about objectivity. Yes, unbiased professional judgment. I will not be able to exercise my unbiased professional judgment because I'll be constantly on a worry. Yeah, Mukesh Ambani ke paas ultimately power hai, he can remove me. We have discussed that in what you call previous chapters. Yes, so in that case, don't you think it's a problem for me? Yes, single dependency, like if I am what you call only having one client, which is what you call this Reliance, let's say in that case I'm too much dependent on Reliance. Yes, in that case significant fees from a single client can compromise objectivity. Countermeasures. So now to balance that, what can I do? I can what you call search for more clients. Why only Reliance? I can do the audit of Tata, I can do the audit of Birla, I can do the audit of let's say XYZ company. Yes, I can what you call expand my client base to what you call maximum extent. Yes, so that is what increasing the client base and independent reviews. For listed companies with high fee dependency, disclosure and mandatory external quality reviews are required. So in that case, the what you call the supervisory board or the IASBA also has recognized that. Matlab, let us assume that if in case you are doing any listed company audit, it is mandatory. It is mandatory. It has said what you call the member countries to it has made them member countries ke liye mandatory to get what you call quality reviews conducted. What is quality review? To check, okay, to check this IES what you call. Let us assume that what you call I am doing the audit of Reliance. Correct. So Reliance is a listed company. So now when I'm doing the audit of Reliance listed company, now IESBA has made it what you call mandatory for whom ICI. Who is ICI? My what you call boss. Correct. My big boss. Yes, because chartered accountants का degree कौन दिया मेरे को? ICI. Correct. So ICI is the member country of IESBA. Correct. So now IESBA has told ICI कि check कर, ठीक है, what has he actually done? Has he actually done this account what you call audit properly? Has he actually followed the accounting policies and procedures? So that is what, correct. So in that case, external quality reviews are required. समझ में आ रहा? That is what कि मतलब if there is what call any listed company or I have too much dependency on one single client, in that case, since my objectivity might be compromised. Objectivity matlab again, so my ability to take an unbiased professional judgment might be compromised. In that case, financial dependency will increase, and that is the reason why you want to what you call ensure that what you call the mandatory quality reviews is being conducted. Next, financial relationships. What do I mean by that? If let us assume that loans, guarantees, and investments between the auditor and the client creates a risk of overlooking the financial statements. So now, let us assume that what you call मैं client के पास गया, सर मेरी माँ बीमार है, मेरे को what you call 1 crore का लोन दो ना. He's like हाँ चल ठीक है तो कोई बात नहीं. But now once he has given me the loan, he's like लोन तो दे रहा, लेकिन फ्री में तो there's no free lunch in this world. Yes, फ्री में तो कुछ नहीं होता. Correct. In that case, what have they done? They've told मतलब यदि तो what you call मेरे ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में कुछ भी घपला किया, तेरे को इमीडिएटली पैसा भी देना है, तेरे को उल्टा पंखे से लटका के मारूंगा. Yes, so what has they told? कि मतलब financial relationship. Correct. In that case, let us assume that, or let's say what you call, if let's say what you call the company has asked what you call the auditor the loan, right? The auditor gave it. Okay, auditor gave it. Now auditor will be scared. Now once the auditor is kind of auditing the what you call financial statements of Reliance, correct. In that case, he'll be worried. Yeah, if let's say I kind of report, matlab everything is not fine. Correct. When it is what you call although not fine, when you kind of want to report it as fine, if when you have the OPO, let us assume that 1 crore का लोन लिया कंपनी what you call auditor से, correct. So now if the company what you call discloses, if the auditor discloses that everything is not happening properly, correct. So in that case company का share price crash हो जाता है and company का then in that case company might even close off. Yes, it might lead to a potential problem for the what you call auditor only. Yes, so in that case it might so happen that this financial relationship can also create a self-interest, correct. So how can you counter that? Countermeasures include strict limitations or prohibitions on such relationship, especially if material. Correct. So that is the reason why in the previous chapters we have discussed your auditor and what you call the client should not have any kind of what you call financial or fiduciary relationships. Yes, auditor is required to be independent in nature. Yes, or independent in nature, no shares on anything, no kind of material transactions. Yes, because of this relationship. समझ में आ रहा? Because of this financial relationship which can cause a what you call self-interest. समझ में आ रहा? Are you able to link it now? Yes, that is. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Now, next. Potential for personal gain. This includes scenarios like future of prospect employment with the client or incentive to secure lucrative non-audit services. So now, let us assume that what you call you have an article or you have an assistant who is performing the audit of Reliance. ठीक है? He's a brilliant assistant. He's a brilliant assistant. ठीक है? In that case, that assistant ka what you call Ambani what you call recognizes what you call intelligence. He's kind of offering him job. Correct. So in that case, what is it now? He's having a potential future prospect for future employment with what you call Ambani. Now, in that case, he's like Ambani called him to his office and he told कि यार यदि तो है ना अच्छे से काम करेगा तो है ना कुछ भी है ना what you call मेरा fraud नहीं निकालेगा, then in that case only I'll give you. Yes, so in that case he's kind of एक तरह से टॉपिक पे ना रहा कि मतलब only in case you're not performing your duties well, in that case only I'll offer you employment. Correct? In that case, correct? That is a what you call potential for personal gain. Correct? You cannot have that. Correct? You cannot have that. Okay. And then or incentive to secure lucrative non-audit services. Correct? So in that case, Ambani was impressed by you. Okay. Ambani was like, yeah, I'll give you some non-audit services which are not restricted. We've seen what are all the restricted services that an auditor cannot survive or cannot provide. But in addition to that, let us assume that they are kind of what you call telling to non-audit services तो audit तो तेरे पास ही रहेगा, but if in case you do not report any kind of fraudulent activities that has been going on, correct? So in that case I'll give you some non-audit services backdoor से दे लाएगा जो कि vertical it will not be reported also. Correct? So that is what is the promise. Correct? So in that case there's a potential for personal gain. Yes, in that case also your objectivity might be compromised. Correct? It is creating a self-interest, right? Yes. So countermeasures include the disclosure of potential from vertical employment, removing the individual from the audit and independent review. Correct? So in that case, now you'll have to what you call, as a matter of fact, to remove this, they'll kind of what you call see, they'll have to ensure कि मतलब like they'll have to check कि मतलब if there's a disclosure, you'll have to take from your employee staff who's working on this what you call Reliance का assignment for a disclosure of potential employment, removing the individual from the audit. Let us assume that you get to know if there's some kind of what you call audit that is going to there's some kind of deal that is going to take place between Ambani and this audit staff, then you kind of what you call remove him from the audit and ensure that his work, ensure that work is independently reviewed. Because if let's say you're kind of reviewing his work, you'll be able to understand if he's what you call covered all the mistakes or not. Yes, that is what an independent review will ensure that what you call he's performed the work diligently. नहीं तो उसको what you call you'll not leave him. Yes, so that is what. And as well as restricting attest professionals from providing non-attest services. Correct? As well as restricting what you call attest professionals from providing non-attest services. के मतलब like who are all involved in your audit. ठीक है, who are all involved in your audit, they will not be allowed. ठीक है, they will not be allowed in any manner to provide any kind of non-audit services. Yes, समझ में आ रहा? Next. ठीक है, potential for personal gains whereby you have scenarios of prospective future employment of what you call possibility of what you call obtaining from non-audit services from what you call the client. Correct? In that case, what all the countermeasures, disclosure of potential employment and what you call removing the independent auditor from the team, getting your independent reviews done. Okay. Now, head to fee recovery and litigation. Overdue fee can do what you call lead to leniency. Can lead to leniency to ensure payment. Correct. And actual and of and one second. Sorry for this. Actually, no. No. Overdue fees can lead to leniency to ensure payment, and actual or threatened litigation can impair trust and information flow. What do you mean by that? Let us assume that what you call you were employed for the audit of what you call 31st December. Yes, of X Limited. Now, X Limited का audit fee was agreed as 10 lakh. ठीक है, 31st December 24. So now 31st December 24 का audit you did. ठीक है, and you kind of gave the invoice. ठीक है, audit हो गया, and then invoice was sent for 10 lakh rupees. But that guy did not give the what you call payment only. You're requesting him for the payment. He's like kal deta na sir, kal deta na sir. Correct? So he's kind of what you call pushing it forward. ठीक है. Now it has so happened that it has what you call moved to the next year now. Now, once comes the next year also you're continuing as the auditor. So now, but what has happened? नाउ यू लाइक यार पिछले साल का फीस नहीं दिया, इस साल भी यदि मैं ऐसा ढंग से ऑडिट नहीं करेगा ना, so in that case he'll not give me my fees at all. Correct? In that case it will ensure that it will provoke me to act leniently. Yes कि मैं ना review what you call issues नहीं identify करूँ and report नहीं करूँ. Correct? In that case that might lead to what you call potential leniency in ensuring to ensure that payment has been made. Correct? In that case counter measures include pursuing free recovery कि मतलब like you'll have to plead them यार please मेरा पैसा दे दो. Correct? Independent reviews and consider withdrawing. Correct? In case कि मतलब नहीं आता, अब पैसा नहीं आ रहा. Correct? So in that case you cannot what you call be debarred from what you call receiving the fees. But if in case you're not getting the fees, then क्या कर सकते हैं? छोड़ के आगे बढ़ो. But in that case you will not be performing your audits. समझ में आता? Yes? So now, self-interested, what are all the things that we discussed in self-interested? Financial dependency. You should not have any kind of financial dependency on the clients. Okay, like no single fee dependency on one particular client. If in case that is there, you have to what you call countermeasure is to kind of increase your capital base capital base to multiple clients, and also ensure that what you call if there's what you call listed company that you are doing the audit of, you have to ensure that quality reviews are being done. Okay, and this quality reviews ka responsibility has been rested upon what you call the individual organizations who have what you call given you the tag of professional accountants. Next, financial relationship. Any kind of what you call financial relationship is also to be disclosed. Okay, it's also to be disclosed, and any kind of loans, guarantees, and all of that should be either provided to the auditor or provided by the auditor. Okay, that should not be there, and because that might lead to potential objectivity ka compromise. Yes, potential for personal gain, any scenario of what you call possible potential employment with the company, or possibility of obtaining any kind of what you call non-audit services should also be kind of taken aback. Taken. Then threats to fee recovery and litigations, whereby if you have any kind of what you call overdue fees, then in that case you will have to ensure that there's a payment of that fees that is being made. Okay. Next comes the familiarity. What is a familiarity? ठीक है, सेल्फ इंटरेस्टेड और कैसे सेल्फ इंटरेस्टेड करके फिर बोलते हैं familiarity पे. So one of the threats, see we have completed what fundamental principles: integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, professional behavior and confidentiality. Next we have kind of completed the self interest. Now what you call the familiarity threat. Let us go line by line. Familiarity threat. Let us assume that long-standing relationship with the client. So now let us assume over time the auditors can become overly trusting and sympathetic towards the client, potentially overlooking the issues due to lack of professional skepticism. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Let us assume that I have been what you call performing the duty, or I'm the auditor of what you call Reliance for let's say 8 years now. Okay, now I'm 8 years old. Now, don't you think I'll be having some kind of what you call professional relationship, मतलब एक what you call एक relationship जैसा बन जाता मेरा और what you call मेरा the management के बीच में. Correct. So in that case, I might what you call share a lot of what you call fun facts with them about my company. I'll also what you call know a lot about their company. Correct. So in that case, मेरे को उन लोग के लाइफ के बारे में बहुत मालूम पड़ता. See, because the auditor and what you call management are not only like what you call they share a lot of what you call common threads, because see, let's say what you call you incorporate, let's say a big company like Reliance. Okay, they'll have what you call a potential person who's the GM over there also will be a chartered accountant. Correct. So he has also gone through the same thing what you have gone through. Correct. So in that case you'll have some sympathetic attitude, and over time you'll kind of develop some sympathetic attitude towards. Correct. So in that case there'll be a long standing relationship हो जाता. ठीक है, whereby you might what you call tend to ignore possible issues within the what you call financial statement, correct, due to this what you call sympathetic attitude, correct. So in that case that might lead to a problematic situation, correct. Or personal connections, okay, let us assume, okay, one example is this, or let's say you have personal connection, family or close connection between the audit team and what you call the center's leadership. So now let us assume that what you call I am what you call the auditor of Reliance, okay, and I am what you call Anant Ambani. Yes, Anant Ambani are what you call childhood friends. Let us assume I am what you call Anant Ambani are childhood friends. Now, don't you think अब मेरे को let's say अनंत अंबानी के साथ what you call दोस्ती यारी बहुत ज्यादा है मेरी, correct, it might lead to potential what you call me not being able to discharge my professional duties well. Why and how? Because of this personal connections, that I have. ठीक है, might be यार अनंत अंबानी वैसे तो अच्छा बंदा ही है, ठीक है, अब यदि मैं कुछ बोला, let's say I kind of disclose any kind of what you call wrong things about him in the financial statements, then it will what you call lead to what you call Reliance का downfall, which I would not want. मेरा भी what you call दोस्त है, मेरा भी कुछ दोस्ती यारी का फर्ज बनता है. Yes, so in that case if I have some kind of personal connection, might lead to possible problem for what you call Mr. Reliance as a whole, correct. So that is so now Again, another example, auditors involvement in client recruitment. What do I mean by that? Now, let's say what you call auditors also involved in the recruitment of the client. What do I mean by that? कि मतलब like client को मैं what you call I'm providing payroll services कि मतलब यार मैं तेरे को ढूंढ के देगा ऐसा बंदा जो कि है ना what you call financial statements. Again, now for the fact that I am kind of hiring the person whom I have to audit, correct? So that is also not good. Yes, so that okay, if I have what you call long-standing relationship. But to cover this, we have seen something called as rotation of auditor in the previous chapter. Yes, we covered it previously about rotation of auditor. Ki matlab if let's say if it is what you call exceeding a particular limit, you have rotation of the auditor ka limits applicable, and you after every 10 years you have to mandatorily rotate out as the auditor, and someone else has to come in as the auditor. Correct? So now again, rotation of the engagement partners and the audit staff. Correct? Not only if the engagement partner should be rotated. So now let us assume. Now within this, let us assume. Now again, the taking the same example. Now Deloitte is let's say the auditor of Reliance. Deloitte is let's say the auditor of Reliance. It was being performed. Main audit partner was let's say Mr. A. Okay, Mr. A is performing the audit for Reliance. Okay, Mr. A is performing the audit for Reliance. Now what happens is after let's say what you call some 7 years. Okay, after 7 years. Now within the 7 years, the what you call Mr. A must have got comfortable with the client. Although 10 years has not reached, correct? In that case, what will happen after 7 years? It is mandatory for what you call Reliance auditor to be changed from Mr. A to Mr. B. Although he can be a part of Deloitte, not denying, but he cannot be Mr. A. He can only serve maximum until 7 years. समझ में आता? If it is what you call a single what you call partnership firm, in that case, if it's a partnership firm and there are multiple partners, in that case, Mr. A can only function as the auditor for maximum up to 7 years. Yes. After that, someone else from Deloitte only can become the auditor, but it has to be rotated. Yes. Next, अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ एन इंडिपेंडेंट रिव्यूअर. ठीक है, यू कैन हैव एन इंडिपेंडेंट रिव्यूअर. इसको क्या बोलते हैं? QCR. ठीक है, एंगेजमेंट क्वालिटी कंट्रोल रिव्यूअर. ऑब्वियसली you might have it in vertical coming chapters, or let's say in AAA में तो one particular segment is with respect to EQCR. ठीक है, you can have an independent reviewer to kind of review the financial statements. ठीक है, of whatever the work you have performed also, and performing independent quality control. ठीक है, now safeguard against this threats. You can have what you call mandatory rotation of audit partners after what you call a certain period. Yes, I told you Mr. A and Mr. B wala example. Yes, generally it is 7 years. For listed companies, listed companies ke liye what you call like the rotation of auditor, rotation of the firm as a whole is what you call 10 years. Correct? 10 years. ठीक है, and what you call rotation for the partner within the firm is what you call 7 years. ठीक है, mandatory rotation of the key audit partners after a defined period. Yes, and then mandatory cooling off period. So now once I what you call join, once I kind of what you call I'm completing 10 years as the audit. Okay, 10 years of let's say I'm kind of completing 10 years as the auditor, I'll have to pay tax. So can the what you call management remove me as the auditor? Like can the management replace me for like 1 year and then bring me back? No, they cannot do that. They have to have a mandatory cooling period of 5 years. Let us assume. Again, I've explained this example to you before also, but now let us assume that I was appointed as the auditor for 31st December 2025. Yes. Okay, so now when will I complete my 10 years? I'll complete my audit for what you call this being my first year. My last audit will be what you call 2034. Okay, 34 ko it will complete my 10th year. Correct. So now after the 10th year, I'll kind of retire as the auditor. Correct. So now someone else will come in. Correct. So can the management think that 35 ke liye main kisi aur se karwata, 36 ko again I'll get it done from me only? Yes, they cannot do that. They have to mandatory have someone else for let's say 5 years. Yes, 5 years. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Possibly from 40, I can still again be appointed as the auditor, but now that is what it is. 35 से 39 तो I cannot be the auditor. Only I cannot be the auditor. समझ में आता? I cannot be what you call the auditor. समझ में आया? That is what is the concept of what you call this rotation. ठीक है, mandatory cooling off period. ठीक है. Another example I'm just thinking. Yes, ठीक है. This is what is it. ठीक है. समझ में आया ना familiarity का concept? This can easily come as what you call a long answer question, and it in fact is what you call examiner's favorite question. ठीक है, ये ऐसा ये वाला जो भी points अपन पढ़ा ना, this is examiner का favorite part. ठीक है, they can what you call test your knowledge. ठीक है, I'll just clean off all the कचरा. Self review threads. एक बार ये self review threads, let's say we'll take a break. We'll kind of complete the self review threads. We can take a break. Oh, ठीक है, we can take a break. ठीक है, we can take a break. Today I'm taking a break slightly early. Then we can come back after what you call 20 minutes, 15 minutes. 15-20 minutes and then we'll kind of continue. Okay, we'll kind of complete this chapter and so what do we do? Okay, we'll kind of take a 15 minutes break. Okay, and then we'll come back. Okay, we'll kind of come back and kind of continue with the we'll complete this chapter and we'll start off with the next. Okay, let us meet after 15 minutes. Yes, people, welcome back after the break. Okay, chalo. Now we were discussing on the threats. So we had so far completed the self-interest threat and the familiarity threat. Now coming forward, we are going to study about what we call advocacy threat, self-interest, self-review threats, and intimidation threat. Very very simple. ठीक है, ज़्यादा complicated तो अभी तक कुछ लगा नहीं ना? Hopefully, ठीक है. It is very simple. Okay. Now, self-review threats. What do you mean by that? No, no. Let us assume that there's a purpose. Okay. Why they have told? कि मतलब you're not supposed to what you call perform any what you call or accounting services. Now, let's say you're performing your own accounting. Yeah, so we can tell no. Yeah, you're an expert. Then an expert. If you kind of what you call doing your own account, like तो accounting करेगा, तो उसी का checking करेगा, तो accounting करेगा ही तो perfectly. Then there's no need for you to check. But there is always a room. Okay, the standard recognizes the important that you are ultimately, before you are an accountant, you are also a human. You are also a human. You are bound to make mistakes. It is not someone who's born. There's no one in this world who's born perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Correct. So if let's say you're auditing your own work, let us assume you're performing your own accounting, and then you're kind of auditing your own work. Does that absolutely make sense? Will you be able to detect your own mistakes? Either deliberately whatever you have done, or what you call unintentionally you must have made a mistake. That is not something which you can catch very easily. Yes, so that is what, if let's say, what is a self-review threat? Whereby you're kind of auditing your own work. Let us assume that you have performed, let's say, some certification work which is allowed as a part of non-audit services. We have studied what are the list of non-audit services which the auditor is not required, not allowed to perform. For example, let's say what you call internal audit services, financial information system ka maintenance services, accounting services, some other services. Correct. But let us assume that you're doing what you call some services which are allowed. Okay, and then let us assume that you're performing some certification, and then you have to audit your own certification. Does that make any sense? No, you're not allowed to what you call perform a self that, because that will give rise to a self review. समझ में आ रहा? Let's say tax and legal services. Provide tax planning, tax return services. You're not allowed to provide what you call this tax planning or tax returns. Because why? Because this is what this, see, whenever you kind of what you call providing any taxation services, don't you think this taxation will also have an impact on the financial statements? Because in the financial statements, if you must have seen, you have something called as a current tax, deferred tax, and all of that, tax liability and all of that. Yes. So if in case you're suggesting the client on the tax planning part of it, don't you think it is also giving rise to a self-review threat? Yes, nothing but self-review threats only. Yes, corporate financial advice. Ki matlab, like, do you have to support on this? What do you call? Do you actually think what do you call like the Ambani comes to you? I'm what you call contemplating whether to acquire X Limited or not. Okay, so in that case, you're not allowed to give that kind of advice. Why? Because your work is only to see if the accounting is done properly or not. Why? Because if let's say what you call, if you're telling, yaar isko aise mat karo, accounting mein gadbad ho sakta, correct? So in that case, you're kind of what you call giving him a room for what you call influencing the accounting part of it. Correct? A normal what you call a normal this thing. Normal suggestion will not make a difference. But let us assume you're giving specifically to this mergers and acquisition. Don't you think it is a compromise on your self-review threat? Yes, it is a compromise on your self-review threat. It is giving extra self-review threat. Yes, exactly. So that is what is a corporate financial advice. Correct. You're not supposed to give any corporate financial advice, specifically when the advice is revolving around any mergers or acquisition. Yes, they can. And because it might have a material impact on the financial statement. Next, body shopping or outsourcing, loaning firm personnel. Correct. If let's say you're kind of loaning a firm personnel to what you call the client. कि मतलब like client बोला यार अंबानी मेरे पास आया, अंबानी बोला यार मेरे सारे ना फाइनेंस के बंदे भाग गए यार, I am in a very difficult situation because I do not have anyone who kind of what you call can prepare the financial statements for you. Who you are only the one. Okay, can you come? Can you at least send me some personnel who will kind of what you call prepare the financial statement? Then if in case you're kind of loaning a person, ठीक है, loaning मतलब like you're kind of sending one person. तो मेरे पास what you call मेरा एक छोटू था, ठीक है, मन छोटू was kind of what you call auditing, was involved in the auditing. I kind of tell him यार अंबानी के पास जा, अंबानी बोलता कि देखो financial statement बनाओ, उसको काम करके दे. Correct. So in that case, let's say you're loaning the financial personnel, firm personnel to the client, then auditing their work creates a self-review threat. Don't you think? अब मैं what you call मैं छोटू को भेजा. Now छोटू is only going to perform the work and I am going to test that. Correct. Right? As a what you call body shopping or outsourcing. Yes. So that is not allowed. Correct. Or let's say former client staff joining the audit firm. Now let us assume that client, अभी client का what you call पुराना बंदा, he is like what you call, sir मेरे को ये अंबानी से काम नहीं करना है, मेरे को तो आपके साथ ही काम करना है. He's like, sir मेरे को अंबानी का साथ काम नहीं जमा, मेरे को चाहिए अपनी लाइफ में शांति नहीं. I want अशांति. I want to what you call have some kind of तड़कता भड़कता, I want to what you call चुल है मेरे को लाइफ में, मेरे को लाइफ को कॉम्प्लिकेट करने का, करेक्ट. इन दैट केस आई वांट टू जॉइन योर फर्म, ठीक है. आई वांट टू मेक माय लाइफ मोर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, करेक्ट. सो नाउ व्हाट इज द इशू ओवर हियर? What is the issue over here? Yeah, if let's say if I allow him to join, now if I what if I would be tempted to take him into the audit team, correct? So in that case, he knows in and out of the audit. He knows in and about the accounting team, correct? So he might not be of that much value addition. Why? Because he might not be able to highlight some key issues that he would not be able to think, because he might still be on the accounting side only. He'll not be able to think from the auditing side. Yes, might not be able to think from the auditing point of view. Correct. So he might not give me a value addition. But having said that, I will be tempted because he knows, he has the knowledge of the business. Correct. So I might be tempted to take him into my audit team. But what is the point? If I will always be worried, he's not having that mindset. He's good, not denying he might be good, but he might not be of that much value addition to me for this particular kind. Correct. So that might be what you call a self-review thread. Correct. He might not be able to highlight a kind of key issue. Stop joining the okay. Give me a second. So now, how do you kind of counter? अभी ये तो समझ लिया कि what are all the self-review threats? But when you're kind of auditing your own work, let us assume that you're performing, let's say, some kind of vertical services, and then you're kind of auditing that same work, and you cannot provide that. Correct? Tax and legal services. You cannot provide some kind of tax advisory services to the client when you're the auditor. Correct? You cannot perform any corporate financial advice. You cannot advise him on the corporate level. कि मतलब if in specifically with respect to potential mergers or acquisition, where the client asks you whether do I have to account for it, how do I kind of account for it, or let's say like that, correct? So because your work is more of auditing and not suggesting, correct? Now if let's say kind of loaning a personal staff, take a personal or a staff to the client to prepare the financial statements or anything like that, in that case that will again, because that same person will again be involved in auditing, correct? So in that case he might not be able to find out his own issues, correct? And former client staff joining the firm, okay? So how do you kind of counter them? Restricted services for the listed clients, correct? So in this case, see, don't you think because of this, you auditing the own work, they've kind of created some specific criteria, you cannot provide some listed services? Yes, so that is what it is. Restricting services for listed clients using separate teams. What do I mean by that? No, I'll have to have separate teams for what? Separate teams for auditing and tax services, correct? So let us assume that I'm kind of providing some services which is not restricted as per the non-audit services, correct? It is not a part of internal audit, management advisory, investment banking, investor advisory, ऐसा कुछ service, normal certification, correct? But in addition to this particular concept, I can ensure that I have a separate team. I have a separate team for auditing, which is not at all involved. They can offer same services under one brand name of KPMG. They can still do that. Nothing denying that. But we will have two separate teams. One is providing this services, some other services, and one is purely dedicated towards this auditing. Correct? Because was to ensure that you're not having the self-review threats. Next, independent review. I can still get my audit work. Okay, I can still, to avoid any kind of possibilities of any self-review threats, I can get my work, whatever my auditing work, I can get it reviewed from whom, some other person. Yes, I can get it reviewed independently on some other person who's qualified enough to kind of review. Yes, prohibition from promotion of the client share. Another very, very important. Yeah, I should not be I should be prohibited from promoting clients का share. कि मतलब मैं मम्मी को बोलता, मेरा मम्मी को बोलता कि यार मैं तो नहीं ले सकता, आप तो नहीं ले सकते, कि आप आपकी दोस्त को बोलो, ठीक है, आप आपकी दोस्त को बोलो कि यार क्लाइंट का मेरे को मालूम है, मैं चेक किया, सब कुछ बढ़िया है, तो है ना, प्रॉफिट होएगा, अपन लोग बांट लेंगे बोल के. आई कैन नॉट डू दैट, बिकॉज व्हाई? अल्टीमेटली सी अगेन, इफ आई एम I'm asking through my mother, I'm asking her to suggest her friends to kind of purchase this share. Again, it is kind of a self-review threats, because ultimately once they get to know कि यार ये कंपनी अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रही है, and then profits will be shared, it is indirectly a self-review threat only. Yes, I'm kind of unable to perform my duties well. Yes. Next, again, this is slightly a correction, you can ignore this. And then individuals who are employees of the client during the audit period should not be part of the audit team. Okay. Again, the same thing. If let's say an employee of the client, he wishes to what you call join KPMG. अब किसी को मौत के कुएं में जाना है तो अपन क्या करेंगे? आ जान दो, मेरे को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. But in that case, I'll have a specific thing that they will not be allowed. ठीक है, they'll not be allowed to what you call join my join my team as or what they call they'll not be allowed to audit Reliance as a team. Yes, Reliance as a client. Yes, they will be okay. I'm okay to take them on some other client. Let's say Tata, Ambani, Tata or what XYZ. No problem in that, but they will not be auditing Reliance because ultimately, see, if they'll not be able to identify the issues, yes, they might be good enough, but they might not be able to identify issues. Yes, so that is what. Okay, measures to review, counter self-review. Next, advocacy threats. See, so far we have completed what self-interest threats, self-review threats, and what you call familiarity threats. Now, advocacy and intimidation. Now, advocacy threats, promoting the client's position. Again, the same thing. कि मतलब मैं क्या बोलता when the auditor actively promotes a client's user interest. कि मतलब now client मेरे को आके बोलता, ठीक है, client मेरे को आके बोलता यार सर मेरे को है ना शेयर प्राइस मेरे को लग रहा है कि मैं 300 पार पहुंचा दूंगा, ठीक है. Now I'm also like हाँ यार you can do this, ठीक है. What am I doing? I'm asking my what you call distinct cousins, ठीक है, distinct cousins or my relatives. यार ये कंपनी अच्छी है, इसका शेयर्स खरीद के रखो. Correct. In that case, what am I doing? I'm kind of via promoting the client because I cannot do it myself. Yes, I cannot what you call invest in my shares, invest in the company, correct? Because of the independent issue. What did I do? I'm asking someone else to kind of what you call I'm kind of promoting them. Okay, I'm promoting, and they're not small people. They're what you call big shot people. Correct. So in that case, when the auditor actively promotes the client's user interest, correct? When the auditor is quietly what you call actively promoting the client's user interest, that is what is called as advocacy trade. Don't you think it is again a possibility that I might not be able to what you call again if let's say my relative, my cousin has what you call bought shares based on what you call what I've told, because ultimately see I'm a chartered accountant, तो मेरा बात का unfortunately value रहेगा. बोलो अच्छा बोलो या गंदा बोलो, मेरा बात का value रहेगा. Correct. So in that case, if let's say I'm telling that, ठीक है, what will happen if the client, the relative believes me and it kind of purchases a major stake? I will be bound by the fact that I'll have to showcase actual truth. I'll be bound by the fact that कि मैं उनका नुकसान होने नहीं दे सकता. Correct. So that is what I'm kind of promoting the client's position. Yes. Which is compromising on my advocacy part. Yes, representing the client beyond the auditor's role. So let us assume that I'm not only a chartered accountant, but also I'm a what you call LLB graduate. मतलब क्या I'm what you call also a lawyer or an advocate. Correct. So in that case, I'm representing the client in front of the bar council. Yes, let's say bar council मतलब क्या? Let us assume in the court of law for what you call some particular case that is going on against the company. Correct. So what am I doing? I'm kind of representing the client. Correct. So in that case, now acting on behalf of the client in negotiations or other capacities that go beyond the scope of audit. Again, the same fact. My primary purpose is to do audit. I cannot be what you call involved in this what you call this advocacy because this will lead to what you call firstly getting closer to the client, which is not at all the concern. I should have that professional working relationship so as to ensure that what you call I've been hired by the stakeholder, not by what you call Mr. Ambani. Correct. Firstly, and then moreover, it will lead me to what you call diverting my interest, diverting my attention towards this area, what you call this particular scenario, this particular case, and I might not what you call justify myself as an auditor. Correct. So that is what is advocacy threat for what you call representing beyond the auditor's role. समझ में आ रहा ना? कि let's say if I'm kind of what you call representing as a lawyer, कर सकते भाई. I have what you call CA का membership also. I have lawyers का membership also. I have what you call LLB का membership also. But what is the problem in this? If let's say I'm kind of representing him, firstly, I'll have to divert my minds in both as an auditor also as a what you call advocate of this particular client. Correct. So I might not be able to perform the duties well across both the formats because it might get difficult for me to concentrate on both the things. Correct. So in that case, it might lead to potential compromise on one of the things. Correct. And the what you call this standard does not particularly want you to have a compromise on any of these things. Correct. So firstly is that, and secondly, I might develop a what you call some kind of what you call professional relationship, something like a sympathetic attitude towards the client. Yes. So that is next. Negotiating loan terms for the client. कि मतलब I have what you call I'm an auditor. ठीक है. I am what you call I'm having a good name in the market. Obviously, see, if you're an auditor, let's say you're an ACCA, you'll have a very good name in the market. Market values you because you're not some chota mota person. It takes a lot of it is very difficult to what you call become an ACCA. So if in case you're an ACCA, you have a lot of knowledge. Correct. So now once you become an ACCA, so now bankers also value you. And so now you're having a very good relationship with let's say HSBC Bank. So now Reliance अंबानी wants to take a loan from HSBC bank. Correct. So in that case, अंबानी बोल रहा है यार सर मेरे को है ना लोन दिला दो ना, आपका तो HSBC बैंक में इतना पहचान है, मेरे को लोन दिला दो. Correct. So in that case, what have I done? I like यार करवा तो दूंगा, ठीक है चल, मैं बोला मैं HSBC वाले को फोन घुमाया, ठीक है सर मेरा अंबानी को लोन के सर मैं दे रहा लेकिन इंटरेस्ट, सर मैं जो बोल रहा वो इंटरेस्ट रेट दो, सर ओके सर आप जैसे बोले हो गया. Correct. In that case, negotiating loan terms with the client for the client, that is not allowed. Correct. Again, because this will kind of develop some kind of relationship which is much more than professional. Yes, it will develop a sympathetic attitude towards the company. Yes, so that is what is not allowed. Correct. You have to ensure that what you call this advocacy test is compromised. Yes, provide any non-ATS services like portfolio management, accounting, advisory, investment banking, or what you call project or report formulation. Correct. So in addition to this, let us assume that you're also engaged in what you call providing not providing any of this, let us assume that you're doing portfolio management services. Matlab kya, what do you mean by portfolio management services? Let us assume that Ambani has what called 1 crore rupees spare. It's like 1 crore rupees spare hai, mere to bank account mein pade, so what will I do of this? I'm like, yaar, you give me this, I'll turn this 1 crore into what you call 10 crores in like, let's say 10 years. How are you going to do that? So mere pe chhod de, and that 10 crores ka I'll take 1%. He's like, what you call, yaar, 10 crores ka 1%, 10%, I'm giving you 1 crore and I'm earning 9 crores. Perfect, take off. Right, but I'm not allowed to do that. Why? Because ultimately now I'll be bound by that. I'll not be able to perform my duties well. Yes, so that is what providing non-ATS services like portfolio management services. Again, this will give rise to advocacy. समझ में आ रहा? Yes. Lastly, ठीक है. So now we have completed self-interest threat, self-review threats, advocacy threat, familiarity threat. Now intimidation. अभी क्या हो रहा? Intimidation threat की मतलब now. So now. So you had noticed a very big fraud. Okay, you had noticed a very big fraud in going on in the what you call financial statements of Reliance. So you wanted to report it. अंबानी को मालूम पड़ा. अंबानी क्या किया? मेरे पीछे गली के कुत्ते छोड़ दिया. What did he do? He kind of left straight off behind me. अब मेरे को तो डर लग गया. अब मैं पहुंचा what you call मेरे घर में. अब मेरे घर में what you call अंबानी के आदमी बैठे थे, bouncers. What did they do? They kind of had. सर हम कुछ नहीं कर रहे, तुम ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में कुछ घपला करो, ये फैमिली तुमको कल नहीं दिखती. बीच में से क्या वो वेलकम वाला सीन याद है ना, तीनों को बीच में से काटेंगे. एग्जैक्टली द सेम थिंग. ठीक है. तो इन दैट केस अगेन दैट इज अ प्रेशर. ठीक है, प्रेशर टू अनड्यूली इन्फ्लुएंस द ऑडिट आउटकम. समझ में आ रहा? प्रेशर टू अनड्यूली इन्फ्लुएंस द ऑडिट आउटकम. करेक्ट. इन दैट केस अंबानी मेरे को बोल रहा कि तू कल रिपोर्ट कर कुछ भी, तीनों की फैमिली तीनों को बीच में से काटेंगे. कितने होंगे? 6 होंगे ना. करेक्ट. सो दैट इज व्हाट ही इज काइंड ऑफ डायरेक्टली टेलिंग मी, खत्म, तेरा फैमिली कल से खत्म. Or attempts to exert undue influence. The client tries to influence the audit process or the auditor judge inappropriately. कि मतलब तू करा तो देख, उठा के फेंक डाल तू तेरे को. Correct? What am I telling? Attempt to exert undue influence. कि मतलब तेरे को नहीं मालूम मोदी जी का सर पे हाथ है मेरे. Yes? मोदी जी से पकड़वा के मारूंगा, मरवाऊंगा तेरे को. Correct? So now again, attempt to exert undue influence. Correct? Now दाऊद इब्राहिम याद है ना, दाऊद इब्राहिम पकड़ के मारेगा तेरे को. करेक्ट. सो ऑल ऑफ दैट लेवरेजिंग गिव्स टू इन्फ्लुएंस की मतलब सर कहीं को तेरे को बता, तेरे को क्या चाहिए, तेरे को एक यॉट दिला दूं, मेरा यॉट तेरे से आज से तेरा, आई हैव अ यॉट नाउ, आई विल काइंड ऑफ गिव इट ऑफ टू यू. बुर्ज खलीफा में एक फ्लैट दिला दूं. यस, लेवरेजिंग इन्फ्लुएंस. बस ये मत कर. ठीक है, तू बस रिपोर्ट मत कर, व्हाटएवर यू वांट यू आई विल डू. ठीक है. और थ्रेट्स एंड कोएशन अगेन दैट वी डिस्कस, मतलब पकड़ के मारेगा. करेक्ट. सो ऑल ऑफ दिस इज ऑल इंटिमिडेशन थ्रेट. करेक्ट. सो नाउ what are the things that we have discussed? Self-interest threat, self-review threats, intimidation threat, familiarity threats, and advocacy threat. Correct. So all of these are threats to what you call performance of the contract. Performance. Yes. Now, how do you kind of what you call address this situation? How do you kind of address this situation? You'll have to take some appropriate action. So let us assume that you see that you are an auditor. Okay, you are auditor of Reliance, and let's say you kind of discuss, you kind of come across. Okay, you kind of come across. Correct. Any kind of threats. Correct. In that case, what will you do? You kind of discuss with your supervisor. Now you will be working in your audit team. So now audit team of Reliance, let us assume Reliance का audit team में audit partner is Mr. X. Mr. X का एक मैनेजर रहता. ठीक है, वो Mr. X का एक मैनेजर रहता. Let us assume Mr. ABC. Mr. ABC and उसके नीचे let us assume that there's a supervisor, or let's say there's an audit in charge बोलते हैं. In technical terms you call it as an audit in charge. Mr. XYZ, Mr. PQR, and उसके नीचे you are Chotu, Mr. Y, Mr. Chotu. ठीक है, Mr. Chotu. So Mr. Chotu has discussed, has noticed any kind of what you call threats to what you call threats. Now once you kind of notice anything, what will you do? You'll kind of, Mr. Chotu will discuss it with whom? What you call Mr. PQ, who is the immediate in charge. Okay. Now, if let's say Mr. Chotu tells to PQ, it's like छोड़ दे, कुछ नहीं हो सकता, आप कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते. Correct. In that case, what will you do? Chotu is very what you call, he's very what you call आदर्शवादी person. He is what you call ethically very what you call firm. Okay. In that case, what will you do? He'll discuss it with management. Okay. He'll discuss it with the management. Or else he'll kind of discuss it with consult with the relevant professional body, or else okay, if let us assume okay, he'll kind of discuss, he'll consult with the relevant professional body. Relevant professional body matlab whom? He'll kind of discuss with ACCA, or let's say CA ICI. Yes, कि मतलब ऐसा issue हो रहा, how do I have to deal with it? Or let's say he'll consult with the auditor. If let's say I'm only the auditor and I am kind of noticing, in that case I'll consult it with what you call the supervisor, I'll consult it with management. What, let's say I've kind of what you call come across any kind of situation, I'll discuss it with my supervisor. नहीं मिला उसका solution, I'll discuss it with the management of the company. Let's say the management of the company is only involved, then I'll kind of discuss it with ACCA. मतलब मेरे को fraud मिला, अब तुम बताओ मेरे को क्या करना है. और I'll consult with the auditor कि मतलब partner से बात करेगा. ठीक है. And then if that is also not happening, I'll kind of take a step. ठीक है. I'll kind of inform the users of the financial statements. Correct. And I'll inform the regulatory or the oversight body. Correct. I'll inform the PIOB. Correct. कि ऐसा कुछ issue मिल रहा. Correct. What will I do? I'll kind of document what? I'll document facts. ठीक है. I'll kind of document the facts and what are all the principles involved. ठीक है. What are all the principles involved? Communicate with the what you call concerned parties. Consider the courses of actions concerned and what you call approach to deal with the matters. समझ में आ रहा? So all of this is with respect to what you call threats. How do kind of what you call what are all the appropriate actions do I need to take and what is the documentation that I need to do. ठीक है. So this is what is the end of what you call chapter number 4A, which is ethics. ठीक. Do we have anything else? Okay. Again, we discussed what all did we discuss? We first started with discussing the IESB and ACCA codes of conduct. Okay. So now in this majorly was what you call IESBA, which is International Ethical Standards Boards for Accounting, and IFAC, which is what you call International Federation of Accountants. IESBA suggests what is what you call the code of ethics for what you call the accountants. They kind of have a rigorous process to ensure that there is some what you call development on the ethics part. They kind of open task forces formed based on the consultation from the various stakeholders, and then there's a debate open for what you call debate open to public for their comment. And once that is done, if there's any major changes, they again have the same process. If not, they kind of what you call make the approval. Okay. Then PIOB is there, which is what you call an overseeing body of the IPAC to ensure what you call the IESB is performing duties well. Conceptual. Then when you have this conceptual framework, they have what you call fundamental principles, potential threats and potential safeguards. For the fundamental principles is what? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence and UK, professional behavior, and confidentiality. Correct. Integrity means being being what you call being straightforward and honest. Objectivity means unbiased professional judgment. Professional competence is what you call attaining what you call knowledge, skill, and acting diligently. Confidentiality is what you call not disclosing important information of the client to anyone, and professional behavior, compliance with the laws and regulations. Correct. Next. Then potential threats, self-interested, self-review threats, integrity threats, self-interested, self-review threats, advocacy threats, familiarity threats, and intimidation threats. Then we discussed on the possible safeguards, where we discussed what are the appropriate actions and the documentation part. Yes, this is what is the primary chapter of what you call chapter number 4A, ethics. Okay. So now we'll what you call jump on to the what you call understanding the client and its environment. Okay. It's slightly a big chapter, so we might what you call just start it and we'll kind of continue it in the next. Okay. We'll just kind of what you call do basics of it. Okay. Just give me a second. Now, understanding the client and its environment. Now, when you're doing the audit, when you're kind of doing the audit, what will you do? You'll kind of go to the audit place and you'll kind of what you call perform the audit. Now, don't you think about audit when you're kind of doing it is very, very important to know about what is the client, what does the client do, what are all the process, what will you do? See, if you, let's say you have to understand, let's say what the company has what you call if the company, we have to perform the audit of financial statements. The financial statements consist of what you call balance sheet, P&L and everything. Yes, P&L में क्या रहेगा, revenue, operations and everything. Yeah, revenue, expenses and all of that. Every company has its own what you call revenue and all, revenue stream and all of that. How will you be able to do the audit? Only by understanding what actually does the client do, what industry does it belong to, what industry does like, if let's say industry specific कुछ information कुछ रहेगा, let us assume that you are what you call hospital industry. You are doing the audit of Apollo. You must have heard the name of Apollo. Yes, Apollo is a what you call very big hospital, correct? So now you're what you call auditing Apollo hospitals. Now Apollo hospital industry mein, it has to be very good, or like it has to be top. Like there are a lot of laws and regulations governing this hospital industries. Yes, you have to what you call provide a very top-notch services. The doctors and all of that, they have to perform a top-notch services. Correct? There are a lot of laws and regulations. How will you be able to understand that? Because all of this might have a potential impact on the financial statements. How do I tell that? How do I tell that it might have a potential impact on the financial statements? Let us assume that hospital was required, okay, to sell pharmacy, to sell what you call good, to sell or rather have the surgical equipments below, okay, below what you call, below the what you call specified limits, okay. But what have you noticed that the company is telling all of them above the specified limits, correct? So in that case, what is it? Lead to what you call potential compliance issues. Yes, it might lead to potential frauds and all of that, correct? And it might so happen that the company is what you call not doing it in such a manner, and it might lead to potential closing of the company. Yes, how would you have that understanding? Only in case if you have which industry does it belong to, what are all the things that are applicable to the company. Yes, take an example of what you call construction company. Take yes, of compliance issues. Take let us assume that there's a what you call complicated company. Let's say what you call construction company. What is construction company? Let us assume that my home is what? My home is a construction company, or Lodha Builders. This again, it is a construction company. What does it do? Kind of builds houses and it kind of sells to the people. Yes, that is what is the business. So now how do you kind of record the revenue? Again, अब उसमें रहेगा, ठीक है? Let's say what you call I record, I create a what you call I create a building. Now will this building be called as what you call my fixed asset or inventory? Naturally, if let's say it is any other business, it will be called as an inventory, what you call fixed asset. But this is specific to construction industry, correct? So in that case, it might be what you call called as an inventory, right? So how do I have an understanding? Only with the understanding of the entity. Yes, that is what. Okay, so that now you understand why is it important for you to be able to understand the industry, because different set of things might have a different impact on the financial statements. Yes, how do you interpret is based on the industry that it belongs to, how based on what called specific company that it belongs to, correct? So now let us assume another example. Now let us assume that the company, okay, it is normal pharma company, and now pharma company hai, so it has to what you call export, okay, it is exporting all of its product to let's say US. Yes, all of its what you call pharmaceutical products, correct? So now again this is also a big thing. If let's say you have what you call specific, let's say what you call you're exporting a lot, then there's a exposure to foreign exchange. Yes, there's a lot of exposure to foreign exchange, correct? So how do you kind of account for it? First thing that. Second thing, you have to what you call take into consideration a lot of what you call this challenges. Kiska challenges with respect to this accounting and all that. Yes, FEMA laws and regulations. Yes, all of this might have an impact on the financial statements. Okay, so how will you do that? Only if you understand the client and the environment that it is working in. Don't you think you will have an understanding of how is the company going to how is the company being impacted by all of this? Yes, so that is what you have to obtain an understanding. Correct? How will you do? Auditors gather the information through inquiries of the management and the others. Correct? What will I do? I'll kind of management को पूछेगा. Management, hey management. Management मतलब क्या? We have studied in the previous class. Management मतलब क्या? CEO and the CFO or the CTO or the CEO. Correct? I'll ask them. मैं उन लोग को है ना what you call चलो आओ आज अपने साथ महफिल जमा. Correct? So in that case, what am I asking them? What are all the things? ठीक है? What are all the things? I'll ask them. Hey sir, what are all the streams of revenue that you have? What are all the things that you have? ठीक है? How do you kind of earn revenue? Can you please explain me the process? What are all the revenue streams? What are all your products? Correct? So based on that, I'm kind of inquiring of the management. What are all the laws and regulations you think that is applicable to you? Correct? So in that case, kind of say we are not only here to identify any kind of frauds, but management might have made certain mistakes also, which only I can suggest that okay, due to errors, like they might have made certain errors deliberately रहेगा तो fraud है, but in unintentionally रहेगा तो error है. Correct? It is my responsibility to make them identify the what you call unintentional mistakes. Correct? So in that case, inquiries of the management and others. Based on that, in addition to that, I'll kind of what you call analyze. Yes, analytical procedures भी perform करेगा. Analytical procedures मतलब क्या? See, they have told, यार sir, हम लोग का revenue ना, हम लोग सोच रहे थे, ठीक है? We are kind of thinking, यार sir, we are anticipating that there's a what you call increased growth in revenue. Correct. In that case, now based on the previous year, I've seen that यार increased growth बोले तो कितना? I'm thinking what you call 10-15%. Now they have told what you call 30% increase in the revenue, which is almost double. Now, don't you think that is मेरा दिमाग घूम जाएगा सुनते ही? Yes, I'll be what you call slightly more skeptical कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ हो सकता बोल के 10-15%, because industry trends also tells me 10-15%. Similar kind of company which is in the same industry, let us assume Apollo का hospital, I'm kind of comparing it with let's say Yashoda hospital, one more hospital by or Kim's hospital. ठीक है, all of these are what you call famous in pretty much famous in South India. Correct. So now I've kind of compared pretty much like yeah, Yashoda hospital, Kim's hospital in general, all of them have what you call grown at 10%, 15%. Why is this Apollo hospital increasing at 30%? Because they have not even had some what you call really good operations also. ऐसा कोई what you call नया what you call hospital भी नहीं खोला, and there's no what you call outbreak of anything like called as COVID or something. Yes, it's been long time. Correct. So on that case, how am I going to justify this what you call analytical? How am I going to justify? Correct. So I'm not telling you का fraud किया होगा भाई, company अच्छा operation कर रहा, मेरे को क्या करने का? My work is only to what you call determine. But don't you think I'll be what you call slightly more skeptical now? Because I've compared it with the industry, I've compared it with the previous year. Historically, the company has been growing by let's say 8-9%. Now 30% growth. Don't you think मेरा दिमाग सन लग जाएगा? Suddenly 30% growth बोले तो मेरा दिमाग सनकेगा, यार कैसे हो रहा है बोल के. Correct. So that is what it is. What you call analytical procedures. Yes, and observation and inspection. In addition to that, I'll kind of see how is the revenue being recorded. कि मतलब मैं cashier के पास खड़े होएगा, कैसे what you call how many people, how am I kind of determining the pricing. Yes, all of this don't you think has an impact? Yes, I'm gaining an understanding of the business. Yes, समझ में आ रहा ना? ठीक है. Now key areas of understanding. Now once I kind of obtain the understanding, what are all the key areas that I need to understand? ठीक है, what are all the key areas which will help me understand the business, industry and the regulatory factors. ठीक है, industry, which industry do I belong to? Which industry does my client belong to? It's the hospital industry. What are all the regulatory factors? What do I mean by regulatory factors? What do I mean by regulatory factors? What are all the compliances? What are all the laws and regulations that are applicable? कि मतलब let's assume कि मतलब hospital industry है तो hospital के related acts and all that, medical bills and all of that के लिए what do you call you have that. Yes, external factors like on a what do you call historical basis or right now, what is the current what do you call current trends of the foreign investors? What do they feel? What do they feel about the what do you call this company? What do they feel about this what do you call hospital companies? Are they kind of increasing the investments? Yes, they are. In fact, let me tell you one thing as a tip. Okay, a lot of investment is coming into India in hospital sector. Okay, so in that case, okay. Now what is happening with this? Yeah, people are investing. So in that case, people like Apollo Hospital will be also tempted to inflate the profits so as to attract more investments. Okay, so that is what. Okay, so in this case, I'm kind of understanding the industry, hospital industry, what are all the regulatory factors and all the external factors. What is the investor sentiment about this hospital industry? Yes, so all of this is kind of what you call affecting my understanding of the business, nature of the entity, correct? Operations and the ownership structure, correct? So now, who are all the owners? Let's say what you call Vijay Mallya or Nirav Modi or Vijay Mallya or Nirav Modi are what you call the owner, are part of the what you call shareholding. Yes, are part of the shareholders or what you call Apollo. Now I'll be very skeptical. यार ये लोग कुछ ना कुछ तो घमेला किया होगा. Yes, they are not what you call दूध का धुला हुआ आदमी. Right? They must have done something fraudulent. Yes, it might create a problem for me. Yes, so that is what. If I have understanding of what you call who are all the key what you call key ownership people, who are all the key MPs, key managerial personnel, or let's say who are all the major shareholders of the company. Correct? I know for the fact that this will have a potential impact on the financial statements. Yes. Where are all the investments coming from? Let us assume that investments are coming from what you call some company which is in Cyprus or something. Now Cyprus and all of that, it is a hub for shell companies. Yes, shell companies which are not existing in nature. They have all of this what you call all the terror funding and everything, terror funding, or let's say all kind of what you call illegal funding coming from other countries, let's say Cyprus or let's say some other African countries. Correct? So now all of this is coming in. So now I'll be skeptical. यार ये यहाँ पे इतना पैसा आ रहा है, so they might be using it for money laundering purpose. Correct? So I'll have to be careful around that. Yes. How is my financing structure? Do I have a lot of what you call loans and all of that? If in case I have a lot of loans, then I'll be what you call, if the company has a lot of loans, then in that case, they'll be heavily pressurized. Yes, on what? Making it sound lucrative. Ki, matlab profit making company. Why? Because if in that case, if they do not show it as what called profit making company, what is the risk then? What is the risk? कि banker बोलेगा पैसा लाओ बोल के. Yes, so that is what correct nature of the entity. Correct, that is important for us to understand. First, we discussed on the macroeconomic factor. What is the nature of the entity, the regulatory and the external factors. Then the entity ka operations. Correct, entity ka operations, ownership, investment, financing structure. Yes. Then accounting policies. What kind of accounting policies does the company have? What are all the accounting policies? Yes. Or like how often does the company change the accounting policy? Is it like constant from a previous year? Yes. If it is constant, no problem. But what made, if let's say there are significant changes, and historically the company has a history of significant changes, let us assume that the company, one particular accounting policies, let's say earlier the company was accounting its inventory as per FIFO method. Inventory as per FIFO method. Now they have suddenly changed to weighted average. Why? बस ऐसे ही मस्ती हुआ, ठीक है? Why? That is not something which you know. Okay. So now this is what is something that is a constant worry. Why? What has led to the company changing in the what you call inventory valuation? That is what is something that you need to be careful about. Correct? Accounting policies, selection, application, and changes. Next, entity objectives and related businesses. What do I mean by that? What are the objectives that the entity wishes to what you call basically the entity ka vision and mission? What does the company aspire to do? Where is the company heading towards? What are the strategies of growth? Is the company very much focused on the what you call growth? Ki matlab anything that comes in, then they are only focusing on growth. What is the risk behind that? If let's say the company is only focused on growth, what is the problem then? In that case, the company will be what you call reluctant. What you call the company will be taking more risks and all of that, and they'll be what you call tempted to show profit in the financial statements. Correct? That is what entities, objectives, strategies, and related businesses. Correct? So all of this will have an impact on the financial statements. Yes, and the management review of the financial performance. Correct? Management and review of the financial performance. Ki matlab, how does the management review? Correct? How does the management understand the financial performance? Are they very happy about it, or are they what you call thinking aggressively? यार कुछ तो गड़बड़ करना पड़ेगा यार. This is not how our investors will like it. Correct? So now, समझ में आ रहा? So now, first we had discussed. What did we discuss first? Industry and the regulatory factors. Correct? What is it? The industry that it belongs to, the regulatory and the external factors. Regulatory matlab the laws and regulations that are majorly applicable to the company, and external factors. How does the what do you call foreign institutional investors view this particular industry as a whole? Correct? Then once you kind of understand the external environment, then the internal environment. Ki matlab what is my nature of the entity? Correct? What are my ownership structure? What is my investment or financing options? Yes. Then next, once I'm done with that, okay, once I get an understanding, then I'll check on what is the company's accounting policies? Are they what you call? Firstly, I'll check, are they what you call in general acceptable in particular this kind of market, in particular this kind of what you call industry that it belongs to? Again, I'll check it if it is what you call consistent with the industry. Although it might be different. Yeah, ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब there's no rocket science कि मतलब you have to mandatorily follow this method only. You might follow some other method if that is particularly suiting you. I'm not kind of kinetic, just kind of getting a better understanding ki where do I have to place my what you call place my understanding, or where do I have to place excess focus on? Yes, so that is with respect to accounting policies. Next, entities objectives. Correct? Now, what are all the objectives that the entity is planning to achieve? Correct? Where is the entity planning to head towards? And then management, measurement, and understanding of what you call measurement and review of the financial performance. Yes. Why do we need to see? Ultimately, we have discussed this, but why do we need to understand this impact of importance of this understanding? This helps to understand the inherent risk of the engagement. Correct? Inherent risk matlab kya? Again, we'll kind of study it in what you call coming few chapters. What is inherent risk? It is the risk. It is the risk that is by default there in the business because of this industry, because of the industry, and you cannot do anything about it. Let us assume that there's a what you call it's a construction industry. Okay, it's a construction industry that you're working, and the construction company, it's what you call acquiring. It's acquiring a lot of companies. Let us assume that Lodha Builders has acquired my home, like my home. Okay. Now, is it what you call something that you can control? Obviously, you cannot control. You cannot tell them, "Arey, itna accounting kaun karega, itna auditing kaun karega." You cannot tell them, "Ye nakko karo bolke." Correct? No. What you have done? Correct. So now, and that is something which is complex in nature. Accounting for what you call acquisition is not something very easy. Correct? Yes. So in that case, that is leading to an inherent risk. Ki matlab there's a risk that this, because of this what you call thing, because of this thing, because this not in the ordinary course of business, it might be what you call potentially misstated, correct? This amount might be potentially misstated, correct? So that is what the understanding helps to understand the inherent risk of the engagement. Engagement acceptance should consider the risk level. So now, when I'm kind of considering whether or not to accept it, I'll kind of see now whether all of this is there. Yes, if it is what you call somewhere like Vijay Mallya is the auditor, Vijay Mallya is what you call one of the promoter of the business, then I'll be like, "Arey yaar, kaun matha pachi karega?" I know for the fact that there'll be fraud in this transaction. Okay, so in that case, I'll be tempted to not be accepting this because the risk level will be high. Yes, failure to provide honest assurance in a high risk engagement can have a catastrophic social and financial consequences for the stakeholders. Yes, so in that case, now again, if I what you call provide this can have failure to provide honest assurance. Ki matlab if in case I am unable to provide an exact assurance, correct? I am unable to provide exact assurance will what you call will lead to what you call stakeholders putting wrong or putting uh, to not be able to rely on me. Yes, yes, they'll make a wrong decision. Yes, yes. So all of this will have a potential. Okay, all of this will have a potential impact on what you call yes on this financial story. Yes. So to sum it up, we have discussed what you call understanding the clients and environments. What do we understand? How do you kind of obtain the understanding? What are the key areas of understanding? This is by far the most important, whereby you kind of understand the external factors, internal factors, accounting policies that are involved. Okay, like objectives of the company and what call review of financial performance. And why do we need to understand the inherent risk, whether the acceptable, whether can we accept the engagement or not, if there's any what you call failure to provide any kind of what is the consequence of not being able to provide an exact communication. Yes, so all of this is what called understanding the client and its environment. Okay, so now we'll stop for today and then we'll kind of continue in the next class, because see, next chapter, next point is slightly complicated and slightly longer. We'll kind of start it in the next class. So with that said, I hope you have a great weekend, have a great time, enjoy the day. Let's meet in the next class, which happens to be next. So bye bye.